Okay, all the keys for all of these flags are available. However, not this one. So I didn't map a key to switch this flag while you're editing, but it's not difficult to do this on your own. Okay, we need to know this anyway, so let's look at this for a sec. If you look at all of these groups of digits for all of these different flags, these different types you have available, okay, each one of these columns, as you work your way down, will equal 16. Okay, everything is in hexadecimal value, and that's what stores these flags. So if you look at this, you can see no cross is an 8 in the first column, terrible's a 4 in column 1, a 2 in column 1, and a 1 in column 1 for background. So if you add those up, you get 15, but the 0 actually counts as 1. So there's actually 16 available digits for each column. So how this works is potentially every object you draw can be a 0, a 1, a 2, a 4, and 8 at the same time. So what I mean by that, even more specifically, as far as you're concerned, it can be a no cross, a terrible, a loop, and a background, and a 0, which is actually nothing, is set to 0 at the same time. So if you drew, let's say, a constant, it would be 10. If you wanted to make that rope a constant so it wouldn't move, it would become 30. Now, if you wanted that rope to also be a bendable wire and a constant at the same time, well, then that type number would be 1, 30, and 70. Okay? And if you wanted it to be a phantom at the same time, it could, and it would become 150. Okay? But what it does is it doesn't become 150. As soon as the value equals 9, it actually rolls up to A, then B, then C, then D, then E, and then finally F. So if we look at some of the maps, I'll try to explain this. Some of you may understand this. But I will go through this. Okay. So let me take a stab in the dark at some of these maps. Okay, so you can see this is a constant, and it's an 8 at the same time, which is no cross. Constant, no cross. This is target, constant, no cross. Player, constant, no cross. Player, constant, background. Player, constant, background. Player, constant, background. Anyway, you should know already that a player with background doesn't mean anything, right? Here's a player here. Here's a player here. And this player isn't a constant. This player is a constant, no cross. Target, constant, no cross. and constant, no cross, constant, no cross. This is WinSave map 2. This is actually the second map. If I go back to the app and go to the second map, this is what you see. Okay, so the target was a constant and no cross. No cross is kind of irrelevant because it just doesn't matter. No cross is something like if it's a background object like the sun, you go through it. But the sun actually is a no cross. If I draw a line directly in it, you can see it's stuck there, right? So again, that's what no cross is, right? Okay. So we've got two players. And again, you can see 1018, that's a player, and a 1000, that's a player that isn't a constant, so he isn't fixed. You can see top guy is actually fixed. He's not going anywhere. So he's got the 10. So the 101. So that 1 here means he's fixed. And the 8, no cross, again, that's irrelevant. Let's delete that. Delete, 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 delete. And now we've got our movable player. You can see he's not constant. He actually moves. So he's just a simple 1000, right? And then you can see a bunch of 1000s who are constants, but they have background to them. So let's just see. 118. Actually, I think this is actually it. This is a player, but because he's defined as background, he's not ending the game. And let's see, we've got a no flag line, so that's just our basic drawing line, like this. You can see there's actually one on the map, right there. Okay, and that's actually the line that's probably through. Let me just clean up some of this stuff. That's probably the line that's fixed through the player. Okay. Good. So anyway, so we're going to look at some of these maps and try to understand how these hexadecimal flags work on defining objects. So I'm going to try to find something that goes and maps to multiple types. So bear with me, you'll see in a minute. Okay, right here, 25. Okay, let's go back to here. Well, we know 20 is rope, so we know these three guys are a rope. But 5, there's no such thing as 5 in this column, in the first column. However, we got a 4 and a 1, so he's a terrible with a background. Okay, so if you drew something like a rope and he was simply 20, but you wanted to make him terrible, you just go in and edit, and beside the 20 you put in 4. But let's say you want to make him terrible, but he was also a loop, you would just add the 4 to the 2, he would become 6, so it would be 2, 6. If he was already, let's say, a rope, which is 20, but he was already a no cross, but you wanted to make him terrible, then you would add the 4 to that, and that would actually become 9, and then the 10 will become A, and then B, and then C. So he would actually become C. So you can actually put in alphas in there up to the value of F, which is equal to 16. Okay, but in our case we won't put any F's because we don't go up to 16, but we will put in E. So that's good. We have an E right here, so let's look at the E. So this guy's a 20E, so we know he's a rope with the 2 in the second column. And then an E, so we know we've got 8, 12, So he's everything. He's a no cross, terrible, loop, background. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15E. 16 BF, but we don't use the 16. So an E would be all of these flags. Now if we look at the second column, I think the same is going to apply. We've got a phantom, which is 8. We've got a bending wire, which is a 4, a rope, that's 2, and a constant, which is 1. So if you had all of those flags set, all of these types set for one of your objects, then you would see an E in the second column, right? And same deal for the third column. If he was red, green, and blue, which in our case are irrelevant, since we can color 4, 6, 7. However, there's no more. So I don't use all of the available values. So you'd never see more than 7 in the third column. Fourth column, the only options that are available are 1, 2, or 3. So he's either a player, a target, or both, right? We talked about both. And then last but not least is floating, which is just using the 1. So that's our flying object. And those ones below it are a typo. That's not possible. So really these are the options you have. Again, I don't have a key. So like all these keys up here, you press a key to create a const, a soft, a bend, phantom, flying object, player, target, looping object. I've got everything but terrible. I will add that and rebuild, but not tonight. It's late, so I'm just making the videos. You make the ropes, and you can do the math to figure out how to add 4 to it. Not very difficult. That's about it.